like to introduce Lord Deben, our Chairman, to say a few words to start the evening. Thank you, John.
Well, first of all, I would like to add my thanks to Sanlam, Verbatim and Energy Consulting for their very important support for this dinner, which, as you see, is in a new venue. We have grown and we've found a venue sufficiently large to take us in what I think you will find is real comfort. So thank you very much to our supporters. Also the two charities we're supporting. We always do one at home and one abroad, and the opportunity to help those who are carers to have a time off is something that most of us who've had people in those circumstances know is absolutely vital and really incredibly helpful and very difficult. So we are very pleased to be supporting Vitalise. We've supported before the Spafford Children's Centre because it's one of the very few organisations which looks after children from Jewish, Muslim and Christian backgrounds. And that's a very difficult thing to do in East Jerusalem at this moment. And they've carried through all the terrible problems of bombardment and the like over the past few months and emerged triumphant. So I very much hope with these two remarkable charities you'll be very generous indeed. Now, we have got the FCA, and I must say I'm extremely pleased that we're lucky enough to have the chairman here this evening. Now, I've been warned that regulators have grown to fear the speech of the chairman of APFA when they are invited as guests. So I want to start by saying what a pleasure it is to have the chairman of the FCA as a guest. And of course the FCA has been going for such a short time that he would not expect me to do anything else but to be encouraging. And I want to therefore to put forward 4 areas where I want to encourage him. The first of these is to make sure that this new regulator is seen to be genuinely accountable. I've read the annual report, the first report. It's a sort of statement of where the FCA wishes to go, and it's very good insofar as it goes. But what it lacks so far, I think, is a clear, detailed explanation of what good looks like. What is it that they're looking for? And unless we have that, the accountability of a regulator is extremely difficult. People outside need to be able to say, well, it said this is what it wanted to do, and it's achieving it. And unless it says in detail what it wants to do and is transparent, then it seems to me it's very difficult to achieve the ends which I know the chairman has got. So first, accountability. Secondly, I want it to be a regulator that recognises that the end is that more people should be able to get proper advice in what they do with their money. And I'm sure that the chairman understands when I say that the whole of my time, both as a minister, 16 years of it, and then since then as the chairman of APFA and its predecessors, the whole of my time has been marked by a reduction in the number of people and the opportunities that people have to get advice on their savings and on what they should do with their hoped-for pension pots. And this is a serious issue. Fewer people representing fewer people and more of them at the top end of the income bracket. That is not what should have been the result of those years of regulation. And so I want the second thing for the FCA to be concerned about is that it should be regulating in a way which makes the business grow. Not just for the usual sensible reasons that if businesses don't grow, we don't employ, we don't make wealth, we don't contribute to society. All of those are good, sensible reasons and things that politicians of all kinds refer to. But for the basic reason that we are not a saving nation, that we need to be a saving nation, and we need for more people to understand how best to use the money that they've saved. And therefore, crucially, there is the need to increase, not diminish, the opportunities for advice. And thirdly, I look to the FCA for light touch regulation. Now, I'm amazed at this government, which is very keen on not regulating, except when it comes to the financial services, when regulation upon regulation is piled. And you're not allowed to argue about it. I'm constantly asking this government for sensible regulation on energy efficiency. It'd be very sensible to have more regulation on energy efficiency, instead of which we have less regulation. I just wonder what's so special that means that the only area where regulation is increasing continuously is the financial services area, and on the very people who have the best reputation within that area and who are most trusted within that area, and those are the members of APFA. So thirdly, I want the FCA to recognise that regulation can be effective only if it is seen as an ally of good practice. That's why I want it to be very clear what good practice is. If it's seen as an ally of good practice, then it's much easier to have the light touch regulation which most of us want and which I believe will be best for the market. And lastly, I want the FCA to recognise that the biggest danger we have is that innovation will be practically impossible. So far, the increase in regulation has meant that it has been easier for the regulators to say no than to say yes. Indeed, in many cases, they have said no because they don't want to have the hassle of maybe getting it wrong. And yet, the further we move away from the very sensible changes which have largely been made, the further we move away from that, the more society will change, and the more it will be necessary to have new products and new ways of enabling people to meet their financial requirements. Innovation is crucial in this country, which leads the world in financial provision. If we regulate innovation out of the system, and I have a number of personal experiences when that has been done or attempted to be done, then we will destroy one of Britain's most innovative industries. We cannot do with a financial services industry stuck in the past. We can't have it sealed in aspic. We must not allow it to be unable to compete on the world stage because we are not willing to do the degree of risk which innovation demands. If you have no risk, there is no innovation. And that is the thing that is most difficult for regulators to recognise. So in welcoming the chairman of the FCA, I want to say we welcome him because we believe that all that the FCA has so far said leads us to think that those 4 aims are not impossible, that it could deliver what its predecessors have not delivered. And if it does that, it will find a ready support among the members of the professional financial advisory community. We have every interest in the highest of standards. We suffer more than anyone else when people go wrong and do bad things. It's our members who are besmirched and tainted when a company goes bust or has been found lacking in the standards which it's upheld. We don't want this industry to be an easy or indeed a difficult place for those who don't want to keep the rules. But we also want this industry to be vibrant and alive, and it's the balance between those things which I think is the challenge for the FCA. Now, APFA reaches its 15th anniversary this year, and so we look back over a hugely changing scene. Depolarisation, RDR, the PI crisis, revised fee settlement, and now a cap on fees from the European Union. My goodness, we've seen off some, we've changed others, we had to live with a third lot. It's remarkable. But APFA is crucial to the industry. APFA is essential because we are the sane and sensible voice of an industry which deserves that voice. And yes, there are some people who say from time to time, why aren't you louder? Why don't you scream more? Why don't you attack more? I don't want to do any of those things because I want to win more. And you win by working with the people who are on your side. People who may have got the thing wrong, but once you explain it, are prepared to change. We want to work with the FCA because that's the way that together we can achieve the sort of industry that we want. I couldn't let this occasion go past without saying how much we owe to Chris Hannant as our Director General, as we have owed to his predecessors, going right back to Mr. Smee, who is here yet again. And I want to say that our staff do a fantastic job. It's a small, very vibrant group who work much longer hours and much more than they're paid for. And we owe them a great deal. But we also owe the board, as your representatives, and you as members, a great deal. And that's why I want to leave you with a challenge. We have embarked on a major change. We're offering better services, a wider range of services, and we're seeking to recruit more members right the way through from the largest to the smallest. We are only as effective as our coverage. And I hope that every single person who's here tonight, who is a member, will take away the single and simple challenge of making sure that when we meet again in a year's time, you have recruited 2 additional members each. Not just for the money, although we like that, but for the fact it makes us more effective, because our speaker tonight has to listen to us more attentively if we do represent more widely this great industry. So the challenge is 2 more for 2015.